Welcome to this talk about Lean Startup for Agile Product Management. Thank you for the introduction, because it's true that sometimes people say, oh, Lean Startup, but this is for startups. This is like for kiddos, you know, entrepreneurs. That's what you are called when you don't have a proper job, okay? So it's like, no, but I'm using these kind of things in the environment and the ecosystem of very, very big companies. I can talk about several examples, okay? So for those of you who missed the talk yesterday, I'm going to be fast here because yesterday I did a full introduction of who I am and all that. But my name is Angel Medinilla. I come from Spain. I didn't say that yesterday. My Agile superhero name, as given by Linda Rising, was the Crazy Spaniard. Okay, I love playing this role in Agile conferences. And you have a couple of interesting data here in this slide. One is my email, angel.medinilla@projectalis.com, which is my company. And then you also have this web page. I'm sorry, I have to change this color. Projectalis.com/en/Angel Medinilla. Or if you just bit.ly/Angel Medinilla, or if you just Google Angel Medinilla, it's going to be like the first or the second link. The interesting thing about this link is that if you like yesterday's presentation, is there. Today's presentation is there. And all our materials and videos of the talks and a lot of articles and blogs and everything is hanging in that page. So please feel free to use all these materials. They're free. We don't even ask for your email in order to use it. Okay, so we are that fine. Anyway, who am I? Well, I'm a consultant and trainer. Somebody was asking to me this morning, what's paying the bills? Well, what is paying the bills is my customers hiring me as a coach, as a trainer, in order to assist Agile transformations. This is what I do for a living, okay? And I've been lucky enough to see a lot of software industries, from aerospace to military, from banking to consultancy, from .coms to retail, logistics, medical, mobile applications, video games. Video gaming is a very, very interesting environment. So government, so I have plenty of experience in this kind of environments, and this is the kind of things I use when I talk to you about how to do things and how Scrum Masters evolve, how to continuously improve companies, how to use Lean Startup. This is not theory, this is what I'm doing at my customers' companies. So anyway, then I have the public speaking, okay? Public speaking is what gives me the kicks. I always have like such a good time when I see people having fun and bringing some energy. It's the one thing I love the most about my work, but it still doesn't pay the bills, okay? So anyway, sometimes I have to go back to the mine, and work with some teams in order to get some money and keep traveling the world. Anyway, I have a couple of books, Agile Management and Agile Kaizen, pretty expensive, okay? Springer is an editor that is known to have pretty expensive books, but I know that if any of you is in deep need of money and want to read the book, you will probably find a workaround, and that's all I'm gonna say. And which gives me the rights to download whatever I want from the internet, okay? Because it's like, it's fair, okay? So I'm also part of the Management 3.0 community. I'm a licensed trainer, and I love the work by Jürgen Appelo. That's it. That was my presentation. End of vanity slides. We are here today to talk about Lean Startup. Let me how much time do I have? I have until 12. That's like 30 minutes. I have 74 slides pending, okay? So, oh my God, that's gonna be tough. Well, let's see what happens. So, we are Agile. Agile companies. So you made it. Now you're Agile. You're doing Scrum, and you're doing Kanban, and you're doing XP, and daily meetings, and you have boards, and burn downs, and post-it charts, and post-it notes, I'm sorry. So we are all so happy, aren't we? It's like the universe is perfect. There's no problems anymore now that we are Agile. Okay, but, wait a minute, okay? When I see my customers, the more advanced ones that are, deep into their Agile transformations, Agile is never a goal or a target, it's a road, okay? You're always on the road. There's always transformation going by. And when I see customers that have been doing transformations for a long time, I realize that we still have like black holes in agility. There are some parts of Agile that are not absolutely clear. We cannot still understand parts of being Agile. Like for instance, if we have self-organized teams, how do you align them in order to have a common understanding and a common goal and do whatever you know needs to be done? That's like herding cats, okay? If you ever try to herd cats, you will find that it's pretty difficult. That's the reason I have my personal belief that cats should be eradicated from the surface of the earth. Cats are vermin, stupid, selfish creatures, okay? These kind of statements always gave me a lot of friends. So anyway, self-organization. How could yesterday we were talking about this. I've seen you self-organize. No? How can I make the people to self-organize in a proper way and not destroy the company in their way of to self-organization? Or for instance, Agile literature says you have to collaborate with your customer. And you're like, yeah, my customer. So have you met the guy actually? You tell me I have to collaborate with this guy? Okay, that's nice. Or you have to challenge the status quo. You have to change the system. You have to talk to managers and you have to talk to your chief executive officer. No, you don't understand. We have to be agile. But of course, these guys are the guys holding the big guns. Okay, so yeah, how do you do that? Okay, I've read the Scrum guide. There's not much information about how you do that. Okay. And when you do Scrum or we do Kanban, there's this magical thing called the product backlog. And it's like, so we have a product backlog and we start, oh, hold on. What do you mean we have a product backlog? Where's the product backlog coming from? Oh, you know, the product backlog, the name is pretty self-explanatory. It's like the product and the backlog. Yeah, but it's like, where is that coming from? And people are like, oh, that's, you know, we have this guy, the product owner. He has the vision of the product. He's the one that knows the product, so his job is to write the product backlog and explain to stupid programmers what needs to be done because he's the one that actually understands the market. Well, I don't buy this visionary shit, okay? For every visionary that was lucky enough to create a product that was very, very good, there's 5 million visionaries that didn't make it you've never heard about, okay? So, and if Steve Jobs was such a visionary, what the freak happened at Next when he created these expensive computers nobody bought? Oh yeah, but the technology was amazing. Yeah, talk about visionaries, okay? So I don't buy this idea of the visionary, one guy having all the knowledge. In fact, we're agile. If this is true, then for software teams, we should have like an architect, okay, one visionary guy with all the technology in his head. But we said, no, we're not doing that. And we said that pretty far in the past, like in the 80s and the 90s, we started saying, it's not a good idea that we have one guy with all the knowledge. Oh, but when it comes to product, product is not complex. You can have one guy with all the knowledge. I don't like that. I don't actually believe that. So that's the reason Jeff Patton, which is probably the man, the most knowledgeable man in product management in the Agile ecosystem. If you haven't read, and I've been told that finally Jeff Patton has published a book. It took him 10 years to write this book. The other day, Alistair Coburn was saying, oh my God, I'm hallucinating. I have Jeff Patton's book at my hands. And then some other person said, you too? I thought I was hallucinating, but you're seeing it also. It's like the book is here. No? So if you can find, I want to read that book because I've read Jeff Patton's work for a long time. I've seen the guy. He's amazing. Okay? And Jeff Patton says, product owner is a stupid idea. The idea that you have one guy that owns the product and has all the information on the product. And I agree. Another thing that Jeff Patton says is a lot of the focus on Agile methodologies is put on this word from the 20th century, productivity. Oh, we need to increase productivity. And I always say the same. Not here, okay? In this room, everyone is so talented and is doing things so well. But outside this room, when we look at the software ecosystem and we read Standish report that says 60% of the features that the software industry is producing outside this room are never used by the user, are absolutely waste. We shouldn't have done that in the first time. How many of you would, agree with that? How many of you will say, well, I will discuss, or how many of you will say, no, I don't agree, that's the truth. Come on, raise your hands, I want to see, show me some love. Oh, so outside this room, not here. Not here, okay, I want to be clear with that. But out of this room, 60% of the software we do is waste, is useless. Solution, more software. We need to increase productivity, okay? So yeah, double the shit, double fast, okay? What? So no, I think that the problem is that we are doing a lot of features from these visionaries, and these visionaries, 60% of what they're saying, we have to do this by Friday. It's never used. So what's the point? We are doing, it's like an insane cycle of producing a lot of software and hoping that maybe 20, 30, 40% of that software is used. So I don't like that, okay? So this focus on productivity and product owners, we have teams that are very agile, but they are producing the wrong products, okay? So here you have an example of a wrong product, okay? Maybe the people creating these secured armed force segways, maybe these people are the most agile team ever. Maybe they are doing continuous integration and test-driven development and behavior-driven development and impact mapping. Well, probably they're not doing impact mapping because why on earth? Why are we doing this, okay? So, but you don't know, but still the product is stupid, okay? So it's a wrong product. And sometimes we have very wrong products, like the amazing watermelon transporter, okay? Patent pending, okay? So again, you don't know if the people designing this thing and creating this thing, they were executing the backlog perfectly and doing no estimates, like doing one feature. Henry is going to talk about that in the next talk. I do recommend that you stay here for the no estimates talk, okay? Maybe these guys are doing no estimates and Kanban, and the WIP limit is always 1, okay? It's like, yeah, we made it, but the product is stupid. And they say, oh, that's not our fault. Talk to the product owner. He's the visionary, okay? Or we have very, very wrong products, okay? Like this amazing tray for the... Only in America. Only in America, okay? I'm sorry? Maybe it's a Google car, yeah, but you know, the wheel is still smooth, probably, I don't know. And then we have very, very, very wrong products, okay? Get ready for this one, like Clippo, the office assistant. Don't you love Clippo? Do you remember this thing that appeared in Office in Word? It seems like you're working a letter and just shut up, stupid fucktard. How do you disconnect this thing? Nobody wanted that, but some visionary decided that users needed to be assisted in their office tasks, okay? Fortunately, in 2004, they decided to get Clippo out of the Office suite, okay? So, yeah, wrong products. And this is, you know, I was worried about these wrong products when I bumped it into the work of Eric Ries, the guy that wrote the book of Lean Startup, and who I always consider have an amazing resemblance with actor Seth Rogen. You know Seth Rogen? The guy behind, you know, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, The Green Hornet, Guilt Trip, or The End. No, it's like separated at birth. They seem like brothers, like siblings, I don't know. But anyway, besides resemblances, Eric Ries was a guy that was exposed to the work that is described here in the 4 Steps to Epiphany. This is an amazing book for entrepreneurs, startups, product people, but it's like a thick book. It's like dense, according to my opinion. There's a smaller version like the Fast Guide to the 4 Steps to Epiphany or something like that. But Eric Ries was in university with this person writing this book, giving classes. And then later on, Eric Ries was doing a startup. He bumped into Agile methods. And then he combined these 2 things. Basically, in the 4 Steps to Epiphany, they talk about something that they call the customer development process. And the customer development process is, if you have an amazing idea, wow, it's so innovative. I have this idea. What's the idea? I'm going to get pickles, you know, pickles, and I'm going to deep fry them and cover in chocolate. Nobody's done that before. It's so innovative. So what do? Of course, you go to South America and you buy 600 acres of, you know, chocolate tree, cacao trees, whatever. And then you go to Africa to some place where they grow pickles, and then you buy 600 acres. And here in Warsaw, you create a factory for starting to, make cans with the pickles. And then this guy says, no, you don't do that. You first try to validate the assumption that people will actually like pickles in chocolate. Oh, no, I know that people will love that. I'm a visionary. I'm like the Steve Jobs of the pickles, okay? I know what the market needs before the market actually figures out, okay? And this is how you create a $100 million crater in your company, okay? So instead of doing that, the people behind customer validation, that says first, you list your assumptions. Who's going to be your customer? What's the problem of this customer? How are you going to solve that problem? And then when you have that assumption ready, the next thing you do is you create a minimum viable product. Like I will buy a can of pickles, I will buy some chocolate, I will, put chocolate in the pickles, and then I go to a supermarket with a tray and saying, do you want to try that? And people will say, not in a million years, okay? And then you're like, crap, my assumption was wrong. People don't like that, okay? So if you prove your assumption wrong before you create a $100 million crater, which is nice, then when you can pivot. Pivot means you change one of the things, like you change chocolate for lemon, and then people say, yeah, but the pickle is still too bitter, and then you change the pickle, you pivot again, and you change the pickle for olives, and then you create olives with lemon, and then you find out that in the Arab countries, for instance, they buy olives stuffed with lemon. We are creating them in Spain, and we are shipping them to the Arab countries. Nobody consumes that in Spain, but there's a market in Saudi Arabia and these kind of countries. So also, when you have an MVP, a minimum viable product, you have to validate that there's a product market fit in the sense that there's enough market to validate your business model. Okay, so in a pinch, in like 1.5 minutes, this is customer development, and it's a cycle. And when you see the cycle and when you see the Agile cycle, the idea like basically comes together. It's very easy to understand, oh, I could use that. So there's 10 things I learned from Lean Startup that I'm using for Agile product management, for managing backlogs and creating backlogs specifically, and I created this list of 10 things. Why 10? Well, it has to be 10. If you have to publish a blog post saying 6 things that I learned from 6, what do you mean 6? Oh, what a crap of an article, but 10 things. 10 things I learned from, ooh, that's a good article, okay? So if you want to publish something, if you want a list, people love lists, but it's got to be 10, okay? So you split things until there are 10 items. If you look at previous versions of this talk, which are available in SlideShare, it's like 7, but I decided that 7 was a crappy number. I needed 10. So it's the same 7 things, but in 10 points, okay? So anyway, number 1, you have to develop a product vision, okay? Many times I run into companies when I say, they have these golden plaques in the door that says mission, vision, values, and that's bullshit, okay? Nobody absolutely believes that. And if I ask people to, from memory, tell what's your company vision and mission, for most companies that's like impossible. But then I'm working with this company in Spain, InfoJobs. There's a very nice guys I've been working for several years, and I'm doing this lean startup stuff with them. When we started, I said, what's the vision of InfoJobs? And they said, our vision is to give the best possible job to everyone in any moment of their lives. That's memorable. This is something that you can understand what we are doing in this company. You can try to relate to that in anything you're doing in every single day, okay? This is like the monster.com from Spain, okay? They have the major job posting site. So it's very important that you develop a vision for your product. When you're launching a project or a product, start with a vision. And this vision must be a small sentence with verb, target, and outcome. When you see things like organize world's information, make it universally accessible, who's that? Google, yeah, that's an easy one, okay? And when I say to be the worldwide authority on kids, families, and fun, there's usually 2 answers to this one. What could it be? Toys R Us, you're right. The other usual answer is Disney, okay, some people. But yeah, that's Toys R Us. Or for instance, if you're saying, find gay people near me, who's that? That's a quick question. If someone say, oh, that's Grindr. Sorry, that's a joke. So this is a good, for me, that's like the perfect vision. Put a man on the moon and bring him back alive before the end of the decade. What's that? It's Kennedy on the Apollo program and ultimately in the creation of the NASA, the National Aerospace Agency, okay? So it's brilliant. It's birth, target, outcome, and the whole NASA at the beginning and the whole aerospace program for the United States started with this vision to put a man on the moon and bring him back alive before the end of the decade. It's even contained, time-bound. It's memorable, it's actionable, okay? So if you look at Management 3.0, when we talk about goals, we give several rules on a vision, on a goal. So you can use that for your product vision or for your company goals. Like we have to set quarterly goals and all these things that managers love. You can use this kind of vision instead of 75% uprise in conversion rate, 33% in increase. That's not memorable, okay? So number 2. Once you have a vision and you understand what's the product about, what are we trying to do with this product, what's the why of this product, answer, what are we doing, why are we doing it, for whom are we doing this, then you have to understand value. For instance, there was this story, there's a marketing teacher that says, There's a story about a drill machines company, and the manager, the chief executive officer, gets all the VPs and he says, what do we sell here? And they say, oh, we sell drill machines. And he says, no, wrong. What do we sell here? And another one says, oh, no, I get it. We sell the best drill machines in the market. And he says, no. What do we sell here? Oh, it's, appliances for home improvement. No, what do we sell here? And everyone is so silent. And he says, holes. What we sell here is holes in the wall. Okay, this is what we do. Don't tell me about your product. Tell me about my problem. Tell me about the one thing. Tell me about the one thing. I forgot to put one slide. Somebody recommended me a slide. You can Google that online. It's hilarious because you see Mario. You know the video game. You see Mario, and it says, this is you, and then it shows a mushroom, and it says, this is your product. And then it equals Mario very, 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 very big, saying, this is you available to do rad shit. Okay, kick-ass rad shit. And he says, don't sell the mushroom, sell this story. You're going to be able to do amazing rad shit with our product, okay? So this is the thing. You have to understand what's the value for your customer. If you get too in love with your product, or if you think just requirements, sometimes you end up with this. Do you remember the Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson was creating the Homer, a car, no? I was saying it has to have like a very powerful horn and requirements, and you forget about what's the problem we're trying to solve. Who is a customer? What's the solution for his problem? We just think about a product. And if you only think about your product, if you are like a hammer, you only see nails everywhere. And someday you will find, a screw, and you will say, oh, but if you hit that hard enough, it will go down anyway. Because you think about your product and about how your product is going to solve your problem. And even if you know that your product is not suited for your customers' needs, you will push your product because you have to sell your product. Stop thinking product. Start thinking problem. You have to move from product space to problem space. There's this other story about when the aerospace program started, the Americans have the problems that fountain pens couldn't ride on space. So they invested $1 million or $1.5 million in a program to create the ball pen, okay, which is kind of true. And then they bought 3 ball pens, okay, to have in the space station. And the story goes that the Russians used a pencil, okay. Which is not absolutely true. You cannot have pencils in space because the inner part of the pencil conducts electricity, and then also when you sharpen it, it has dust, and it's also it can burn. There's a lot of stories, but the story is too good to say it's not true. Okay, the thing is, don't ruin the story, Angel. The thing is, if you just think about your product and increasing your product, you forget about what's the actual problem we're trying to fix. In fact, the drill machine company, they are not even selling holes in a wall. Usually you are selling, I want to put a picture on the wall. So if you sell me something that, and we have this product in Spain, no más clavos, which is no more nails or something like that. It's like glue. You can use that to put a picture on the wall or whatever. And so you can think of a different product that can solve this problem. And sometimes your customer is, I need a firewall. No, you don't need a firewall. You have a problem. Tell me about your problem, because maybe there's a better solution than a firewall. Don't give me the solution. Talk me about your problem. Speak about your problem. By the way, we are talking about understanding value from a customer perspective. This is not value. Putting a lot of hours into your product, like 100 hours, 500 hours, 600 hours. We are an hour-driven industry, and that's so wrong. Hours are not a metric of value. Hours are a metric of cost. They are a cost metric, okay? You can work 500 hours and produce no value, but still the cost will be 500 hours, 500 Java programmer hours, okay? So it's a cost metric, and if you measure cost, you will get what you measure, okay? So if you are measuring costs, you're gonna get a lot of costs. In Spain, people are well known to be late at the office doing nothing just because the boss hasn't left yet. Okay, so they want the boss to see, oh, boss, I'm here, working the long hours, burning the midnight oil, and these kind of things. But then you produce nothing. Why? Because if you are doing less hours than expected, then you will be called to the office saying you are doing less hours. And you're like, oh, you want hours? I'll give you hours. And then I'm sitting on my place, like looking Facebook and Google's and whatever. The most popular website in Spain is Marca, which is like the football sports press, okay? Some companies go even as far as to cutting down the access to Marca, which is stupid because everyone has like, smartphones and everything. We had this story, I think it was Mary Poppin the other day at dinner. She was telling us a story about an Asian company where programmers were not allowed to access the internet. Okay, because that's not productive. So people will go to the bathroom and they will use the smartphones to find a solution for the database crash problem. And then they will come back and say, you know what, I had the most amazing idea while I was in the bathroom. That was me doing jokes about Mary's story, okay? So anyway, number third thing that I learned from Lean Startup that I'm using at big companies, show me the money. When we are doing this product, why? Oh, because the product owner asked for it. Why? What's the gain? What's the profit? Where's the value for us? Even we are talking about the value for the customer, but why are we doing that? Where's the money? Show me the money. Where's the business model? Okay, so one of the things we lack when we create a project is some kind of business description of the project. The problem is that usually people are asked to provide business plans. It's like, in 5 years' time, okay, I have a company that is doing mobile applications, and they have something that is called the CRO. Anyone has heard of a CRO? That's a Chief Revenue Officer. What? And then the Chief Revenue Officer recently asked us to get them for projections of sales until 2017, which is like, in the mobile industry, you are like, in 3 years' time, probably there won't be any mobiles any longer. We will be having wearables. So I don't know. You don't know where the market's going in 3 years' time, okay? I mean, 3 years ago, probably we were all still using Nokias, okay? So how do you know? It's impossible. But instead of a plan, you can have a business model, in the sense that you have to, there's this book that is called Business Model Generation, Canvas. It's very popular in the Lean Startup community. There's another book by a guy named Ash Maurya about the Lean Canvas, which is very, very similar. And what they say is list your partners, activities, your cost statements, the value proposition, the relationships, the customers, the channels, and the revenue streams. And tell me about how, what are you going to invest in to create this product? Tell me about how are you going to make money with this product? Tell me what partnerships are needed in order to make this product successful. Once we have this product, how are we going to sell this product? How are we going to reach our clients? How are we going to maintain the relationship with our clients? Many times we oversee this kind of stuff. And then we have good products, but it's very difficult to sell them, okay? And you can capture this kind of statements, this kind of assumptions in the form of customer problem solution statements, which is quite similar to user stories, okay? So you can use that as an elevator pitch, as an inception description, vision of your product at the beginning of the project, or you can use them as epics, okay? This customer problem solution, like as a person that walks a lot, I would like to have elevators so I don't have to go upstairs because it's tiring. That's like a vision for a project. That's like Verb target.com, and the next iteration what we have is a customer problem solution statement, which is an assumption. It's not a statement. It's that we think that this kind of customers have this kind of problem, and we believe that we can solve that by doing this and this and this. That's the assumption, and this is the one thing you have to prove right as soon as possible. All the things that you have in this business model, this is our customers, these are going to be our costs. That's an assumption unless proven right. But many times someone brings a document and says this is the product plan, and you have to execute it. No questions asked. I think we should ask these kind of questions. Roman Pichler has some nice tools. You can Google for him and his work. In his SlideShare, he has some presentations, and he has something that he calls the product vision board. So product owners have this neat board. You know, product owners love to have a board because they see the team playing with Post-its and they're like, damn, I wish I had a board, but I'm not part of the team. I cannot play with the board. So now we give them a board and say, hey, product owner, this is your board. You have to talk to us about the target group, what are the needs, what's the solution that we're creating, and what's the value we're providing, what's the statement of how are we going to make this project successful from a market perspective, from a client perspective. So you can research that later, and there's a lot of tools that you can include in your product owner toolbox. Number 4, and I need to speed up because I have like 10 minutes. Number 4, you have to test your assumptions through minimum viable products. Minimum viable product is probably one of the most misunderstood things in Lean Startup because it's not about products. People think about minimum viable product or potentially shippable, as we say in Scrum. It's like something we can put into the market. No, you don't actually need a product to do a minimum viable product. The reason, that's the reason that I never use minimum viable product anymore. I talk about minimum viable experiment, okay? Because an experiment is a product in the sense, or is a minimum viable product, in the sense that if I do a if I do a test in a supermarket and I know from that test that this product is successful, that's an MVP. Of course, I'm still not ready to hit the market. I don't have like the license, or I don't have the cans, or I don't have the products, but that experiment is something that I can run over an iteration. It's small enough that we can squeeze it into the product backlog, and it's giving me validated learning, which means that my customer is confirming that I had a good idea. If you're gonna be product owner, if you're gonna be doing lean startup, the first thing you have to learn is that any idea that comes from your brain is a bad idea, unless proven right. Okay, so you have to be humble and say, oh, I got this no, I have this stupid idea. Stupid. But let's see what happens if I tell this stupid idea to people. And if people say, we love it, then I was right. But people get in love with their ideas. Oh, I got this fantastic idea. Of course, it's yours, okay? So, you know, your brain tries to comfort you with things that you like. Usually if you have ideas and you don't like them, you discard them. But when you have, oh, this is a good idea, it's because it's from your brain. So you have to learn to, you know, demote your ideas and say, no, probably a wrong idea. But then let's check it. And this is what we do when you do, you know, pilot episodes or, you know, how do you call that? It's a model simulations or computer simulations. Or for instance, you made a test like lemonade sign up, which means that when I have 10 people paying for lemonade, I will buy lemons and do some lemonade. But if nobody signs up, then I don't do anything. I'm doing that with some seminars. I will say, okay, Agile seminar in whatever, in Liberia. And if nobody signs up, well, I know there's no market in Liberia, or maybe I cannot reach the market in Liberia, but not a lot of costs involved. It's a small experiment that I can do in order to validate that my product and my customer and the solution is right. I had this assumption that I could find customers in Liberia, and it was wrong. Okay, so I pivot. Learning is way more important than launching, okay? You have to learn what's right. Remember, 60% of the features are crap. You have to learn what's the 40% that actually makes sense. If we were able to tell the 40% from the 60%, we would have like 60% of the time free, available to experiment, learn, refactor. How cool is that? And the productivity will be the same. And in fact, the product will be much better, more compact, better quality, better customer satisfaction, because there's no useless stuff in the product. Okay, more about that later on. I'm going to skip the validation canvas and the product canvas by Roman Pichler. Number 5, oh my God, TTFU. One of the most important lessons I've learned from Lean Startup, and I'm teaching my customer. TTFU means talk to your fine users. Okay, talk to your fine users. You have to get out of the cave. You have to get to know your customers, not only by user personas and, you know, profiling and all these kind of things that you can learn from UX, user experience. You have to actually get out of your comfort zone, which is very difficult for us programmers, okay? Because we are so comfortable with the touch of the keyboards, and we have like our own little environments with our whiteboards and post-it notes and our continuous integration server. And now I tell developers, no, you have to go out, talk to real customers. And they are like, no, the first time I did that, I think there's still scratches on the ground, okay? Because we have to drag them, and they go, no, I don't want to see real customers. But then we say, you just stay quiet and see how the customer uses the product. And they are quiet, looking at the customer, and they start saying like this, and say, like, no, that's not how you do it. And I'm like, I told you to be quiet, but he's doing it wrong. And I'm like, what does it tell you about your product? And he says, that the customer is stupid. And I'm like, no, you have to learn to understand your customer, and you have to learn how to love your customer, and you have to get out of your comfort zone. Number 6, always go iterative incremental. One thing I feel that is done really, really bad, really, really wrong in many Agile implementations, in many Agile transformations, is that backlogs are not actually iterative incremental. I will call a backlog iterative incremental if I cut the 20% of the most important features and I say this is a product and that can go live. If you don't have that, if you're like, no, we need to execute the whole backlog, because if we don't execute the whole backlog, it doesn't make sense, then you're not doing a pretty much agile development process. Because the agile is about rapid and early delivery of working software. And working means it works and it solves a problem from the beginning. If you are layering your product like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, oh, the time is over, the budget is over, but we still don't have layer 5 and 6. There's no GUI. But we are agile because we are doing sprints and post-it notes and all the thing. No. You have to be able to do a first version of your product in 20% of the time that is like embarrassing, okay? The founders of LinkedIn, they say, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've waited too long, okay? You have to ship something to your customer, and you have to start by apologizing. Sorry, okay? I'm sorry for what you're going to see. Okay? It's not ready yet, but if you put a gun on my head and we needed to use something, I guess we could use this, okay? So you have to build this sensation that I usually tell my teams, you don't know when, but it's going to happen. Somewhere around the project, I will come one day and I will say, production! And I want that to happen in 20 minutes. And that's the kind of state I want to reach. And you don't know when it's going to happen, but someday over the next months, I will say, production! And you will have to put whatever we have into production. And that's being agile. Okay, being able to release something at any given moment of the project. So you have to go iterative incremental. One of the keys to go iterative incremental is to learn to slice your products really, really, really good. And when I say really, really, really good, and I'm piggybacking on Henry's talk, I mean you have to do stories that are 1 day long. Design, development, testing, integration, documentation, 1 day. And then people are like, no, Angel, but you don't understand. I was so relieved because I saw a video by Alistair Coburn, the man himself, and he was saying, when I come to companies, people say, but Alistair, you don't understand. You have to have like big balls to say to Alistair Coburn, you don't understand. That's like talking to Stephen Hawking about physics and saying, Stephen, you don't understand. No, it can be done. Many people, when people say it's not possible, when they say, I don't know how to do it. So you have to be, compassive with these people and teach them how to slice their product into very, very teeny small bits, okay? Rule number 7, I love this rule, no Scrum Norris, okay? You all know Scrum Norris, you can Google for that. Scrum Norris is Scrum Master and Product Owner simultaneously because he's a Scrum Norris, okay? Scrum Norris pairs alone. Scrum Norris sits on the stand-up meeting. Scrum Norris does not move story cards, he moves the task board. And Scrum Norris burns down with napalm. So that's not mine, okay? I'm borrowing that. You can find the full list on the internet, okay? So what I mean with the Scrum Norris is, product management, not product ownership. Okay, for me, product ownership is executing a backlog, which means also prioritizing and talking to people. But defining that backlog is not only a work for the product owner. That's why Jeff Patton says product owner is a stupid idea. Product management is a cooperative game in the sense that you need people from finance and marketing in order to make the product successful and reach a product market fit. You need people from sales to have like direct feedback from the customers. You need people from UX, user experience, to make your product better. You need technical people to tell you what's possible, what's not possible, what's expensive, what's cheap and we can do easily. And of course you need project managers and all that. So I advise that you create a product management community, like a product management team. And these people together, in a visual way, in a cooperative way, in an agile way, should be the responsibles of creating the backlog, okay? Number 8, and we're close. You have to define a funnel for your company. You have to understand what's the conversion rate, which is, there's a magic number. Somebody says 2% is the conversion rate for internet services, no matter if you are selling iPhones or elephants, okay, it's 2%. From acquisition, meaning people that arrive to your site, oh, they have arrived, so, my campaigns paid off. To activation, people actually create an account and give you the email, and oh, that's nice, now that we have some currency from the customer. He's investing some time, and he's giving me some information like his email, that's value. And then we have retention, people are coming back to my site, and they're using it several times. And then we have referral, people are recommending my service to others. And then finally, we have revenue, people are actually spending money, and we are actually making some money from the service. It comes from the web ecosystem, from e-commerce and all that, but you can use that with practically everything, from someone that haven't heard from your company to someone that has paid for your company and keeps paying for your product. You have to understand what's the funnel and what's happening in that funnel. And you have to focus in one or maybe 2 points of your funnel. You cannot focus on the whole funnel. That's a mistake. What do you want? What's your objective for this quarter, for this year? Oh, we want to increase activation, and we want to increase acquisition, and we want to increase retention, and we want to increase referrals, and we want to increase revenues, and 2 boiled eggs. And it's like, no, you can't have it all. You have to find where do you have the biggest problem. And depending on that problem, you have to specify what's the metric that matters most right now. And not one metric, because pursuing one metric usually damages all the other metrics. You have to define several metrics that you can use in order to increase that part of the funnel. Meaning that if you have a problem in acquisition, nobody is reaching your site, well, probably you have to focus on cost of acquisition and campaign efficiency, for instance. But if you have a problem with revenue, then you have to start looking at average revenue per user, and you have to start looking at costs and lifetime value and things like that. There's several metrics. You can research the topic of lean metrics, okay? There's even books written about lean metrics right now, and the difference between vanity metrics and actionable metrics. But this is something you have to learn as a product manager, not only as a product owner, okay? I execute a backlog. I don't care about if the product is successful or not. Product manager. Manager means managing the whole product cycle, including the conversion rate, the average revenue, and all that. And then number 9, build those metrics into your assumptions. Like, for instance, we assume that this kind of customers has this problem that can be solved through this solution. This is customer problem solution again. And then we add, we will know that we are right when this quantitative metric goes up and this qualitative metric comes down. For instance, you can say when we know we are right when the conversion rates goes up and when the customer satisfaction goes up, for instance. That will be a quantitative metric, something you can measure, and qualitative metrics, something that has not a real number, like it's not a mathematical measurement, but you ask people and people say, I love it, I don't love it, I like it. Okay, so you have to build the metrics in your stories, in your backlog. If I see, and please note this down, every user story in a backlog should be a conscious attempt to influence a business metric. If you can't tie down a user story to a business metric, why on earth are we doing this? Probably because some dude told us to do it, okay? Hey dude, do this for me. Why? Oh, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. That's not on my key performance indicators, okay? So everything in a backlog should be a conscious attempt to influence business metrics, okay? Like, I have this example I'm gonna go through too fast, I'm sorry, about Quicken, okay? This is a money management system in the United States, very popular. And when they were looking at their conversion rate, they realized that the biggest drop was when people were selecting the account type, okay? So people sign in, and when we say, you have to select one account type, people are so confused that they cannot decide, and we have a drop of 30-something%, okay? So they analyzed that full part from registration or sign in, and they saw that 17% of the people were dropping off because they forgot the password and they didn't find how to change the password thing. There's a 20% people that couldn't change the password, and then 45% of the people was dropping in the registration process here. So they decided that this was their biggest problem in that moment. So you have to point out one thing that you want to fix. Because if you try to touch a lot of things and nothing changes, you don't know if it's because something go wrong and then something go right, and they cancel to each other. You have to do small experiments one after another to see what's the results of the experiment. So what they did is they created a new user experience and redesigned the registration process. And when they had the new registration process, they observed that there was a 37% improvement in conversion rate. This is building your metrics into your assumptions and into your stories. We are doing this in order to obtain this. and then we try to understand if we were right or not. Right now, there's a lot of software companies that are, feature shipping machines, but you never look at if those features are actually doing something or not. You are like with a huge, fireman hose, whoosh, spraying features around and looking back. Hey guys, how are we doing? But you don't know if you are actually hitting the fire or not. So we have to see if we are hitting the fire. And then number 10, and I'm finishing here, keep your product simple. Don't end up with a product like this, okay? We start putting features, and I said many times I ask, what was the last time you removed a feature from the product? And I get like blank stares, like, what do you mean remove a feature? You don't do that. Why? You need a prioritization framework. I mean, you need a way to prioritize your backlog. There's a lot of discussion about this in product ownership. And there's plenty of prioritization frameworks. You can use return of investment. You can use Kano model. You can use buy me a feature, which is like you put estimations on all features, and I say, this is $1 million backlog, but I only give you 50,000. What would you buy? And then the customer will say, oh, if I only have 50,000, I will have this and this and this. I say, okay, let's say you have 50 more thousand. Oh, then in this case, I want this and this and this. And you start to do that until the customer fills the whole backlog, so you have a prioritization. You need some way to prioritize your backlog. But also, not everything has to be on the backlog, okay? Sometimes I approach, and Mary Popenick has very, very similar experiences. I approach companies and I say, how many things do you have in the backlog? And they say 300. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot. How many do you do each year? And they say, oh, probably 30. And you're like, are you telling me you have backlog for like 10 years? Yeah, probably around. So like, do you actually realize that that makes no sense? And they are like, oh yeah, I know. But we want to keep track of these ideas just in case we are able to, rescue them. And I'm like, you're never gonna do that. So you need two lists. One, and this is an idea by Mary Popenick, one is the backlog, and the other one is called never. Okay, so you start putting stories in the never list. We are never gonna do this. And at the beginning, product owners are like delusional. Oh, but if you put it in the never, then we are never gonna do it. Yeah, but we were never gonna do it anyway. Okay, so get that out of a backlog. Keep the backlog small, simple, manageable. Because if you have 300 items, there's no possible way that we can review the whole backlog every iteration, which we should be doing. Okay. That means that you have to regularly trim your backlog and get stories out of your backlog. If something has been in your backlog for more than 3 or 4 months, please consider moving that to the maybe list, if you don't want to call it never list. Okay? And also, a very cool process that comes from 37 Signals. Okay, this company by Jackson Fried, they have Basecamp, and they also have this product called Ruby on Rails. That's amazing. And they have this thing that they call the Kill a Feature Day. One day they get together and they analyze all the features, and they found a feature that maybe is used by less than 1% of the people, and they say, we'll kill that. And then usually they say, usually you get like 0.5% of our customers will be like angry and will contact us saying, oh, why did you eliminate this feature? It was so important to me. And we are like, yeah, but it was not important for 99.5% of our customers. So I'm so sorry if we lose you as a customer. We will understand. Let me also advise you, all the other products in the market, they suck. Okay, our product is better. And usually people say, well, okay, even if I don't have this feature, I will stick with Basecamp. But people say, 37 Signals says, even if we lose some customers, we are ready for that. But we have to keep the product simple, small, because we have to refactor the product. We have to manage technical debt. If you keep growing a product for 10 years, then you end up with a big ball of mud. And that's, I had this guy in Portugal last year. I cannot remember his name, but he works in refactoring and things like that. And he told the story. He says, I was in this company. I cannot tell the name, but it's like the major player in online payment systems. Okay. And he says, and when I arrived there, they say, oh, we have this, class, this file that is 1 million lines long. And my question was, how was it called? PayPal.c or what's PayPal.jar? It's like, what's this? A bunch of 1 million lines. And I say, what did you do? And he says, there's nothing you can do given that point. It's like, it's going to stay. You just try to isolate that in a box, create APIs and interface, and we call that the core. Everyone that has a core, I always feel like a trembling in the force. Oh, we have a core. Oh, core. He said core. No, not a core, please. I can do a monologue about cores, but not now because I'm eating his time. So anyway, I will finish with these words by Young Ive, which is the VP of design. He was talking about the iPad, and he says, in many ways, it's the things that are not there that we are most proud of. They prune a lot of stuff to create a product that was more simple, more beautiful, more appealing, because if you put a lot of stuff in it, then it becomes more complex. So that's my final advice. There's a wrap-up in the slides that you can access it online. Remember, please, that you have the slides available in SlideShare. I see that some people are taking pictures of that, but anyway, that means they don't have internet connection. Poor them, okay? So my compassion is with you. So. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed.